It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions. Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Thursday? We do, you do. From the DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, heading towards a great sports weekend, we welcome you to our Thursday podcast. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with my co-host with his opinions from left field, where it's still bloody hot in San Diego, John Riley, and we welcome you to Hacksaw's Headlines. Our podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center, 8 locations to serve you in San Diego. If you've got projects for the rest of the summer, things you're thinking about into the fall, think DIXIELINE Lumber. They have the materials, they have the ideas, they can be your best friend and your consultant. Build it, fix it. We guarantee you will enjoy it in 2026, thanks to DIXIELINE.com. John Riley, good afternoon. You need to do something about this bleeping 100-degree weather in San Diego. Jeez, it's horrible. How you doing? Boy, we got a lot to talk about, from baseball to football. Obviously, some news and notes and an eruption in World Cup soccer. Huge day ahead of us. How are you?
I'm great, man. You know, what's funny is this time of the year for me is like Christmas. You know, the MLB trade deadline. I just get so excited about it.
Yeah, we're going to go a lot of different directions on this podcast. Item 1, we are baseball-centric. Item 2, we do a lot of unique sports talk the way it should be done. Topics on the table, opinions. And then item 3, we let you get involved. When we are done, we open it up to you, Fans Forum. John, for people new on the live stream or who have watched before but have never participated, guide them, direct them, mandate, order them to get on Fans Forum, but how do they do it?
Okay. Yeah, come on, pile in. Just drop your hot take, your question for Hacksaw in the live chat on Facebook, on YouTube, or on X, and we'll get you involved in Fans Forum at the conclusion of Hacksaw's Headlines.
We're going lots of different directions because there are a lot of late-breaking stories that we want to cover. We're going to try to get as much done as we can before we let you jump on board into Fans Forum. John, we're just days away from the baseball trading deadline. In fact, the trading deadline will be while we're on the air next Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific. And now suddenly the Padres are really part of the equation in terms of going to find pitching. And that's topic number 1 today, trade deadline, Hacksaw's Hot List. So this is compiled from all the different people that I network with, some baseball people, some executives, some agents, and working media in a lot of markets. These are the guys I've been told the Padres think they can make a deal for. Now, please understand this. Half the world is looking for starting pitching. So it's just not San Diego calling a team to talk about one of those names on Hacksaw's Hot List. There will be a lot of offers for a lot of guys, but virtually every one of these guys could be traded by Monday at 3 p.m. Let's just run through the hot list. I think at the top of the list is a guy that's affordable. He's an extra piece to a pretty deep Seattle Mariners pitching staff. Emerson Hancock. He's got a 3.16 ERA with a record of 6-4. Now, he's a back-of-the-rotation guy, but he's trustworthy, he's reliable. And he's available because they've got 3 other young pitchers knocking at the door in the Seattle system. And he's available because Seattle has to go get a reliever in any transaction. So keep an eye on that name. The second one is about to be a free agent. He was one of the cornerstones of the Blue Jays World Series roster, Kevin Gausman. Now, he made his hay with the Giants, went to Toronto, and really helped bulwark them into the World Series last year. But this is not the same Jays team, beset by injuries to the staff, beset by bad batting averages. His record is only 4-10. He's got a 4.15 ERA. Now, he's also got a no-trade clause, but sources say he will waive the no-trade clause if he can go to a team that puts him in a pennant race, and everybody is calling Toronto right now. The issue is Toronto wants young pitching prospects for a short-term rental with Kevin Gausman. And of course, if you get him, you could sign him to a contract extension in the offseason. The third one, to me, is the most unique one. This guy has all things termed ace written around him. Talking about Hunter Greene, Cincinnati. This is a number 1 draft pick. He's had good seasons. He's had injury-ravaged seasons. He's got a fairly affordable contract that spreads out over the next 3 to 4 years, but you're going to have to give up something to get him. Now, he's had 3 major injuries in the last year and a half. Don't pay attention to his statistics right now. He's only 2-2. His ERA is 7.06. Set that aside because he spent more time on the DL than he's been in the rotation, but he's healthy right now. Cincy might trade him, but Cincy obviously wants young pitching in return. The 4th and 5th guys on my hot list are the number 1 and 2 guys in the Angels rotation. Now, Jose Soriano has gotten tremendous response. Started like a house of fire, cooled off, lost home plate, got it back. Soriano is sitting there with a very impressive 9-6 record on a bad team and a more impressive strikeout walk ratio and an ERA of 3.26. I'm not sure, unless somebody overpays, the Angels would move Soriano. I do believe that they're going to move REID Detmers. Padres have had scouts looking at these guys. Detmers has had a real bounce-back season. Now, he had injuries prior. He pitched well as a high draft pick early in his career with the Halos and then fell apart. He's only 3-7. Again, he's on a team that doesn't give him a lot of support. Fairly respectable 4.05. Very affordable contract. So one of those Angel guys is going to be moved. I think it's going to be Detmers, unless somebody blows the Halos away with an offer on Soriano. The unique veteran is Robbie Ray. This guy's been around the block. This guy right now is part of a pretty good San Francisco Giant rotation on a pretty bad San Francisco Giant team statistically. Robbie Ray's record is 9-6. He's got a 3.16 ERA. He's trustworthy. Is he an ace? Hell no. Is he solid? Well, right now he's solid, but in years prior he's not. A little bit of a gamble. I think the burning question, do the Padres want to give up a significant pitching prospect to somebody in their known division without knowing how long Robbie Ray would continue to pitch with this type of efficiency? Interesting question. Next one is Freddie Peralta. Very affordable, former ace Milwaukee Mets. He might be the first guy out the door, and it looks as if there are going to be a lot of guys out the door at Citi Field in New York. Having a wretched season, 5-9 record, ERA of 4.90. Just not the same pitcher, but that's not a very good New York Mets baseball team. Very affordable contract, $8 million, prorated this year, free agent, end of the season. You could probably get him dirt cheap. Can he ever be what he was in Milwaukee just a year ago, 2 years ago? And the final 2 on my hot list are guys that used to be here, went to Kansas City in different transactions, and have pitched competitively. And that's who they are. Back of the rotation guys, fairly trustworthy. Not going to throw complete games. They don't blow you away statistically. But Seth Lugo has a 4-6 record on a wretched Kansas City team with a 4.36 ERA. Michael Wacha's got a 5-7 record. Pretty decent, 3.60 earned run average. So those are the marquee guys I've been told the Padres have a legitimate chance to have a shot at. But then again, John, everybody is looking for pitching. There are at least 11 teams that are shopping to make deals by Monday at 3 p.m. to go get pitching. And in terms of the Padres, who do you give up? You can trade anybody off the Major League roster? What prospects are left that you dare deal and are going to get fair value? And by the way, the ancillary question, will ownership, this group, Seidler, the incoming group, Feliciano, whenever they get here, allow you to take on more salary and more luxury tax money? Because that's always a piece of the equation, unless you're trading veterans here to get them off the roster, get their salary off your books to take on a different type of salary on the books. And then we get to the age-old debate, John. Who do you trade? I'm not trading Mason Miller. I know for a fact the Padres had scouts at 5 different levels of the Yankee farm system within the last week, from AAA all the way down to the Florida State League, looking at all the Yankee prospects. But I tend to think that's if a Mason Miller deal was coming. I would not trade Mason Miller. I'm not sure I'd trade Adrian Morejon. Reliable. He's given you 2 really good years. I know he's a free agent. Sign the guy. Don't care about the price. You paid everybody else a lot of money over the years you've been there. A.J. Preller, I think, needs to reconsider whether he moves Morejon. The only point that I might allow a Morejon trade to take place if it's for Hancock in Seattle, because then Seattle gets what they need, some sort of semblance of a closer, and then it's up to them to re-sign him. And the Padres get a reliable mid-rotation, back-rotation guy that they could control going forward. But you do that, you weaken a chunk of that bullpen. Now, you got other guys you could shop. They're not going to bring you much. The Wandy Peraltas, the Campusanos of the world, Estrada, Bradley Rodriguez. I'd hate to think Ty France. If you move France, or if you move Gavin Sheets, now you're taking something away in the power department in your everyday lineup. So, John, this is a really complex question. Who they got a legitimate shot to get? What do they give up to get that person? And is ownership going to let them take on a significant salary? So, John, that's the big topic on the table, Hacksaw's Hot List. You can leave the list up. Go ahead if you wish to comment about who you like, who you wouldn't touch, who you'd take a gamble on. And then the secondary question, smart guy, who you giving up? Go ahead, John.
All right. Well, it's an interesting list. I mean, obviously names like Skubal are not on the list, but first time as a Padre fan, I'm looking at that and I'm thinking we need at least 2 of those guys, because we've only got King and Buehler, and after that it's pitching chaos. So we don't even know what our rotation is going to be. So you need at least 1, probably 2 of them. Your idea of Morejon for Hancock, I mean, if that's all the Padres have to give up is 2 months of Morejon to get a potential controllable starter who's got a good ERA, that's a win for the Padres, big time. But I think, all these other, like you said, Toronto wants young pitching. And now you're talking about, what's that guy's name? Cruz Schoolcraft down in single A ball. He's the guy that kind of reminded us a little bit of a young Randy Johnson. I mean, do we want to give up that level of talent? I think the big question really is do you believe that this team could make a run? I mean, we're kind of playing with fool's gold right now, Lee. They're a game or 2 over 500. They're on a nice little winning streak. But, even if you got 2 of these guys, they're still going to face steep competition, even in the wild card round. So I don't know. But of the names here, I just remember Hunter Green, when he came out as a kid in the draft, he was throwing gas. He might have been throwing 100 miles an hour when he came out of high school. But of these names, Kevin Gausman is the one that I've always trusted when he played for the Giants. If he has anything left, he'd be a great addition. And plus, he brings you a veteran leadership.
Good response. I do like Hancock. That's why he's at the top of my hot list. I think you get Gausman. I don't know if they would ask for Mayfield, the young AA pitcher, or if they would ask for Schoolcraft, who's not doing very well at Class A. But I don't know that I'd trade either one of them for just a 2-month rental for an aging Gausman. Now, yeah. I might trade Schoolcraft or Mayfield for Hunter Green, because that'd be win-win for both. You're sending Cincinnati one of those young left-handers at AA with huge upside to get an immediate guy who obviously you have to fix. I'd sure like to take a run at Soriano, but I just don't think the Angels are going to let you have Soriano for just 1 prospect. And I'm not trading Ethan Salas. And you have to bend my injured arm to trade one of those left-handers deeper in the organization. But if the Padres think they're close, and if we buy your theory, if you can get me 2 pitchers at decent prices, maybe you do it. Maybe Hancock Green really becomes a big difference. I don't know you could get Hancock Soriano. The rest of them is Robbie Ray. Can you get 2 months out of him? Because there's not been a lot of consistency in his career. I don't know where Peralta is. Peralta, up until this past season, he was a cornerstone of Milwaukee's pitching staff. In fact, Milwaukee is still talking to the Mets about maybe bringing him back, but he's been a shadow of the pitcher he was before. And the Kansas City collection, we've seen them, okay, might be a fourth starter, might be a fifth starter, difference maker? I don't know. John, would you buy my theory that, okay, maybe we do Morion and then maybe we do one of the Class A left-handed pitchers if it's Hancock and if it's Hunter Greene, and are those difference makers?
Yeah, I think that's probably worth a gamble here, Lee. I mean, I kind of agree with you there, because the Padres, they're kind of on the cusp. Like if they win again tonight, against the Giants, and they win again Friday night, they're going to be feeling like, hey, we've got a chance. So they may end up going for it. I think those are reasonable deals there. It would be kind of fun to see, like, the Padres pick up two guys from the same team, like the two pitchers for the Angels. But I'll just tell you, Lugo and Wacha, man, they were solid. They were rock solid when they were here for San Diego, but they're getting a little long in the tooth, both of them.
Okay, you're a Padre fan because this is a baseball-centric podcast. We've done our homework. That's what all the people I network with, and that's all I do all day is network with people. That's what they've told me. Jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open. Which of those hot names do you want, and who are you willing to give up? Let's talk about that. So that's topic one with the Padres. Topic two involves Padre baseball. John, I told you so. I told you so. Damn it, I told you so. I told you they had the potential to be 9-0 by the time we get to this weekend, and now they're more than halfway there on this winning streak.
They are.
What do you think about this brand of Padre baseball we've just seen recently? Because I told you so.
You did. No one likes it. I told you so. But you sure love being that guy. Yeah, the Padres, they had this stretch of 9, and you're right. They won. Was it the first 5 in a row? So they play the Giants tonight. I'm going to be there. I'm looking forward to being at that game. I hope they can keep it going, Lee.
Hot streak, but everybody's hitting. This is what they should have been done most of the season. Everybody is hitting. Do you want me to throw cold water on myself? Everybody's hitting because they went against the pitching staffs of Kansas City, Toronto, Miami, and Colorado. That's why everybody is hitting. I guess maybe I'm not a total believer, but these guys are knocking at the door for some type of wild card spot. But I will tell you, John, in all honesty, this starting rotation by committee, you can't live this way. They got 50 plus more games. You can't live this way with have 3 bullpen sessions a week out of what's supposed to be a major league starting rotation. So they got to move. They got to move to get starters. And I had hoped that A.J. Preller would do something early before we got to the trade deadline, because if he did something early, you'd get 2 to 3 extra starts of whatever starting pitcher you made in transaction. Has not happened yet. Now, here come the Giants. Up until, I'd say, the middle of this past month, the Padres wore the label around their neck, underachiever. I would be glad to take the underachiever label off the neck of the Padres and transfer it to San Francisco, because that has really been a disappointing season. I look at their batting order this hour. John, if you go sit in your box seat tonight, Devers hitting 246 with 124 strikeouts. Adames, he's hitting 227, and this guy's supposed to be a 300 hitter with home run power. Matt Chapman, he's batting 235. Bader, who I thought was going to be a pretty good acquisition, he's hitting 170, and he's hurt again. Casey Schmidt has had a pretty good, unique season. They just put him on the DL. He's gone with a knee injury. What a blow to the batting order. Luis Arraez has had a great season. He can't do it by himself. They're trying to get rid of their power-hitting outfielder, Heliot Ramos. And the unique thing about the Giants, as crummy as they are, They got 3 starters, 4 starters in the rotation are really competitive. They just don't hit the ball. So San Francisco underachievers. That's who they are at this hour. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I mean, it has definitely been an underachieving team. We were talking about their infield. It could be terrific, not just defensively, but offensively as well. And they've been offensive, that's for sure. My buddy up in San Francisco, we were chatting earlier today, and he says, do you think the Padre fans are going to give Luis Arraez, some love? And I'm like, yeah, I think so. What do you think, Lee?
Oh, very much so. In fact, I think they'll flash something up on the scoreboard to salute the second baseman, first baseman, the spray hitter. He's having a really, really good season on a lineup that nobody hits around him. So now I think Arraez will get quite a welcome. Now, by the time they get to Sunday night, John, if they've won 9 in a row, I will lead off on Monday by saying, I told you so. But, John, they go on the road. They play 4 at Arizona. Playing in Arizona is hard for them at Chase Field. Then they get 6 at home against a Houston team that's hitting the ball and first place Milwaukee. So those won't be walkover games. And then they go away. They play 10 of the following 16 on the road, and they still have the Yankees and Dodgers in late August to play. So, if they're going to make their move to become a wild card team and kind of control where they are in the standings, they need to be 9-0 by Sunday night and then go on the road and make a statement against Arizona, which is fighting them for the wild card spot. Schedule does not favor them at this point in time, but maybe by the time we get to Monday night, there'll be a new starting pitcher or 2 starting pitchers that can take on the road to go play Arizona, then play Houston and Milwaukee before they go back away. Thoughts?
Yeah, it's a mess. I mean, you can't win. It's was it last night's game or the previous game? It was there was like five pitchers that ended up getting, only gave up 1 run. I mean, how often is that going to happen? Starting Kyle Hart and going to Vasquez and then, bouncing around to Peralta. I mean, Peralta is a shaky guy out there. I'm not sure if I really trust him, but they were able to pull it off. And to your credit, I think it is to the weaker lineups. We'll see how they do now. I mean, against the Giants, if they're going to win 4 in a row at home, I mean, that'd be an accomplishment. This team should be a lot better than it is. I mean, I thought from the very beginning, this was a wild card team, certainly not the division winner, but I thought this team was going to win 90 games. I mean, I think right now they're going to be lucky if they get to 86, 87.
And they're going to need to be at 86, 87. Because, John, it's weird. There's like 7 teams fighting for 2 wild card spots separated by 3 games in the standings with 50 plus to play. So I don't think this roster that we have right now at this hour going to dinner tonight, this is not a playoff roster. That's why this trade deadline transaction period is going to be huge by the time we get to Monday at 3 p.m. Again, Padre fans, Giant fans, jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open. We go from that to talk about the first place team in the National League West, because I tell you what, there's headlines everywhere dancing in and out of Dodger Stadium, John.
Yeah, so Shohei Ohtani, I mean, is he going to pitch again? What's the deal?
It's the big issue. What do the Dodgers do next? Good headline. The Ohtani situation has taken a strange turn. Ohtani bicep has flared again. Now, his last outing in a game was July 3rd. They shut him down because of knee inflammation. They tried to get him up and running after an injection and rest and therapy through 1 bullpen session. Came back 3 days later, attempted to throw a second, had more discomfort. They shut him down. And now he's got bicep tendonitis again in the right shoulder. So at this point, they have put him on the back burner. He is doing nothing pitching related in terms of bullpens or even throwing off the mound. He's doing physical therapy at this point in time. There is discussion, John, maybe putting him on the disabled list to completely give him rest for the shoulder and rest for the knee. But you're taking a big bat out of the batting order if you do that. So that's a huge question as to what they're going to do. And the longer, John, he's away from being off the mound, the longer the ramp up to get him ready to be a pitcher 1st of September, or obviously in the playoffs, that's a longer ramp up the longer he's off. So that's item one with the Dodgers and Ohtani. Blake Snell, last night, 3rd rehab start, 4 innings, 1 hit, 9 strikeouts. Now that was a Class A Ontario. That's Class A. Level of competition, overwhelmed by his major league stuff. But what the most important aspect was pitch count. Get his pitch count up. No setbacks. Pitch count was up and he had 9 strikeouts along the way. Tyler Glasnow did a unique up and down batting practice session. Threw to a bunch of hitters, rested for about 15 minutes, went back out, threw to more hitters, no setback. Again, their only statement was, well, we've readjusted his mechanics. We have heard that description multiple years we've been doing this podcast. And it looks right, it feels right, and then it goes away from him, and then he gets hurt again. So I'm not really sure where Tyler Glasnow is. Edwin Diaz is back after the elbow surgery, out of the bullpen last night, throwing BBs and bullets and heat. He gets his first save. And Blake Trinan is on rehab in Oklahoma City, so maybe he is coming. So it leads us to the big question at Dodger Stadium outside of how you're going to handle what you're going to do with Ohtani. It leads us to the bigger question at Dodger Stadium. Are you going to make a run at Tarik Skubal? Right. Because the rumors across the baseball map is that Detroit has now, because they've fallen out of the race again, are taking offers. And we're led to believe Tampa and Milwaukee are in a bidding war to get him. Now, the Dodgers have the number 1 farm system in baseball. Collectively, maybe the best collection of top 100 players anywhere. They have 9 top 100 players. Now, they're not going to trade them all. Historically, they've never dealt away tons of top-rated players. But they have the assets to make a deal if they want to jump in and be in that bidding war with the Brewers and with Tampa for Tarik Skubal. Skubal had said last week he did not want to be traded, but the Tigers can't win games right now. Tigers have faltered. They had a 7-0 lead last night with Skubal on the mound, and they wound up losing 10-9 to the lowly Baltimore Orioles. So that's the storyline as it relates to the Dodgers at this hour. I think they're just looking deeply into how to handle Ohtani, ready, but they're concerned about regression. And then the big question, his reliability. And I think you can also use that set of phrases to describe Blake Snell. That's all things Dodger Blue. John, what do you think they do?
Well, I'm happy Blake Snell is on his way back. I mean, he's a dude that I still root for. And then, Ohtani, you could put him on a shelf for like 3 or 4 weeks and get him, the attention he needs and make him fresh for the playoffs. I mean, that's what this whole major league regular season is like preseason for the Dodgers, So it wouldn't surprise me for them to put him on the shelf, but this Skubal deal just lines up so perfectly, especially with Detroit. If they get rid of, Skubal, and then they're also talking about trading Casey Mize, that they're going to have a need for more pitching. And the Dodgers have got bushels of them down in, where are they? Down in Tulsa, I think is their AA team. That's
where we are. If you're a Dodger fan, feel free, get involved in the debate. We try to give you as much fact as we can, then with some opinion intersprinkled. Jump on board. What do you think the Dodgers should do as it relates to Ohtani? Do you just sit and wait? Do you make a run at Skubal? Price is not a problem here as it relates to luxury tax or anything there. And again, Skubal's on an expiring contract, and you worry about signing him after he experiences maybe going to the World Series and experiences what pitching at Dodger Stadium is all about. Jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open for Dodger fans. Okay, let's talk about the third team in Southern California who just made a deal, the first of what we believe are many deals coming, John.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Angels deals are coming. Wait a minute. They've already come.
Yeah, they made a deal last night. It was kind of a surprise. That's John Mozeliak, who is the interim general manager, and I think has laid the groundwork to make a lot of changes as to how the Angels are going to do their business. But the Angels, first of all, are taking offers on Soriano. The Cubs, I've been told, are the ones that have the resources and are the most interested. But it's not going to be 1-for-1. It might have to be 2-for-1 or 3-for-1, including prospects, to make that deal. But Soriano might wind up there. White Sox knocking at the door for REID DETMERS. Again, that price would be a lot lower. Chi Sox have a lot of people in their farm system, so pay attention to that. The Yankees, because of the rash of injuries, are knocking at the door, have called about Joe Adell, the outfielder. They're just looking for anybody who can play in the outfield. He's got a little bit of pop to his bat. That might happen too. And of course, the Angels last night, in a bit of a stunner, made the trade with Texas. They traded their starting catcher, Logan O'Hoppe. They traded former high draft pick setup reliever Chase Silseth, and they got a power-hitting Class A second baseman shortstop that they really like. So it's a lower minor league player, but what they did was they got real quality, and they're giving up two guys that have playing on a team that's buried in last place. So that's the methodology. They're focusing on the guys they want from somebody else's organization. It'll be intriguing to see where they go from this point on. And by the way, John, do you ever remember the old TV show? You do remember black and white TV. Do you ever remember the show To Tell the Truth?
Oh, yeah. That's an oldie.
Yeah, that's a real oldie. Okay, so you're on the panel, right? And here's a person wearing the goggles, the black goggles, who's the guest, to tell the truth. You're a major league pitcher. Yes. What kind of pitcher are you? Well, I pitched in the American League. How did you do in the American League? Well, in the American League, I had a 24.23 earned run average. In my last 13 innings, I allowed 50 base runners, gave up 5 home runs, walked 21, and hit 5 batters. But I was a starting pitcher in the American League. To tell the truth, John, who am I talking about?
Well, you know what? I know the answer because I saw what the Angels did in their transaction wire. That guy has been cut loose.
Alex Manoah.
Yes.
Can you believe those statistics? Now that he was at Salt Lake City after starting the season with the Angels. Then he got hurt, sent him down, brought him back, got rid of him again, and they just released him last night. His earned run average in Salt Lake City, 24.23. John, this is a guy who, as a rookie with the Blue Jays, had a 2.24 ERA and was in the Cy Young Award running with the Blue Jays when he first broke in about 3.5 years ago. Can you believe the fall off the cliff from this guy?
Yeah, it was. I mean, when you put that ERA in the best 15, I thought it was a typo or something. So it's weird how these ball players, they can be so good and a few years later just be in the tank. It's incredible.
Well, injuries. I mean, forearm, shoulder, but he got healthy and he never gathered consistency back. You should talk about fall from grace. I've never seen anybody with a 24.23 ERA who started his career in a Cy Young race with 2.24 ERA with the Blue Jays. They're an Angel fan. Clean house? What does John Mozeliak do? Jump on board. Want to hear what you've got to say. All things baseball. We are baseball centric. Your fans forum chat box is open. We're going to talk football when we come back. A lot of different stories to cover. We are at halftime. Podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. 8 locations to serve you in San Diego. It's bloody hot outside. Thank goodness I have doors and I have windows that have sealed the cool air in my house, thanks to DIXIELINE Lumber. Same here as at John's Castle there. John,
Yeah.
talk about.
Well, that's not my castle, I'll tell you. But check this out. This is a custom home build. And the windows that are going in here are architectural windows that have been custom built for the design of that unique design of that home. So DIXIELINE provides these kinds of architectural windows. It's a whole different category of windows. So if you are a individual, or a homeowner, you need to replace like a squeaky window that's jammed, you can never get it open right, DIXIELINE can help you. If you need a front door or a sliding glass door, DIXIELINE can help you. But if you're building a custom home and you want to get the really good stuff, the trick architectural windows like we saw in that video, DIXIELINE Lumber, that's where you got to go.
DIXIELINE, go to DIXIELINE.com to see all the things they have to offer. We are at halftime on a jam-packed Thursday podcast. Podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber. When we're done with topics on the table, because we do sports talk the way it should be done, topics, opinions, we open it up to you. John, it's called Fans Forum. Yeah, I bet there's a few fans have got opinions about the baseball trade deadline, but for the new people or people who watch us on live stream and have never, ever participated in Fans Forum, how do we get the first-timers, the Rookie of the Year candidates into the mix here?
Well, today would be a great time to hear from some first-timers because we're going to talk football here in a moment. There's a lot of people that are sharing the love in the Fans Forum segment right now. I've seen some of the questions and comments, plus a lot of talk about the MLB trade deadline. So jump on board, get in the live chat on YouTube, on X, or on Facebook.
Just go to the Fans Forum chat box, ask a question, make a statement. Hey, listen, if you check my website, I want you to read what I write. I write about a wide variety of sports every day on the website, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. First thing every morning, you get the best 15 minutes in sports. You get my one man's opinion column. I write a column every day. Want you to check all that out. While you're on the website homepage, there's an orange box at the bottom. Fill it out. Become part of Hacksaw's Insiders Group. Get on the email list. John and I send out 2 newsletters every day during the week. One in the morning, one in the afternoon, in your inbox, absolutely free. We think you'll really find it unique and different. Hey, you can help us grow this podcast. I want you to share. Tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. Subscribe. When you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you will get the alert every time John and I put additional videos up on the YouTube channel that I have. We do that quite often. And of course, you can help us make this thing explode. Hit the follow button. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a 5-star evaluation on Apple. John, I'm ready for the second half. We're going to talk all things NFL because that's where we came from. That's where we cut our bones, broadcasting NFL football, and we cover the NFL like nobody in this town does.
Like nobody. And I'll tell you what, football fans in San Diego, we lost a great one.
Oh, my goodness. A hole in my heart. We knew this was coming. Those of us on the inner circle knew that Billy Ray Smith was about to pass. He'd been put into hospice about a week ago. He had fought almost a 14-year battle with dementia. Byproduct of playing in the National Football League for a decade, byproduct of playing at the University of Arkansas before that, youth football prior to that. Did not have a lot of concussions that he referenced, but end of the day, he played a wicked position. He was a defensive end in college, undersized but very fast, inside linebacker, tremendous talent, but took a lot of punishment, but he was gifted. But Billy Ray, mentally and emotionally, sadly went away from us about a decade ago because I worked with him. A whole bunch of us knew what was happening, that obviously the concussions had taken a toll and dementia had moved in. He lived a quiet, reserved life. His wife, the love of his life, Kimberly Hunt from KGTV, cared for him right up to almost the virtual end. Hell of a guy. You think about, he came from a football family, from Texas, Plano, Texas. His dad was Billy Ray Smith Sr., monstrously big defensive end, played for the Rams, played for the old Pittsburgh Steelers, and then really became a star with the old Baltimore Colts. But Billy Ray was fast. Billy Ray was smart. Billy Ray was just cut from a different cloth. And he went to a Charger team out of Arkansas with the first pick in 1983. He was the 5th pick, I think, overall in the first round. He was the first of a collection of number ones Charger leadership at that time, John, tried to make to put a defense around the legendary Dan Fouts. Chargers had done so many great things for so long with Dan Fouts, Eric Coryell, etc. They could not stop people. And Billy Ray was the first ingredient that came there. And he was followed by the big cat, Lee Williams. And he was followed by Leslie O'Neal, the big defensive end. And he was followed by very crafty cornerback Gil Byrd. And they all kind of came together, but the era pretty much had ended with Dan Fouts. So Billy Ray played on a lot of substandard Chargers teams. But I covered him. He was, as I said, he was smart. He was unique. He was so gifted athletically, but so gifted intellectually in terms of schemes and things of that nature. And when he retired from football, and he broke down, had some leg injuries right at the end, he went fairly quickly, stepped aside, and became a TV star. Got hired as a sports reporter at KGTV, and eventually became the lead anchor based on his popularity and his smile. Good guy. And then he moved into radio. And then he co-hosted a morning show with another one of our friends, Scott Kaplan, and it became Scott and BR. I used to refer to them as the loudmouth linebacker and the wide right field goal kicker. And Billy Ray used to just howl walking down the hallway, walk by my office, and he said, "The loudmouth linebacker and the wide right field goal kicker are now in the building, Hacksaw." Just a great guy. Sharp, smiled, and hole in my heart when we finally got the news mid-afternoon that he had passed after a very short span in hospice. And then just volumes of people texted me, guys that I worked with, some Charger players I'm still friends with, just flashing back, remembering memories of what BR stood for. And to me, the storylines about Billy Ray Smith are, I remember his smile, I remember his laugh, I remember his spirit, I remember his bravery. And more than anything else, John, I remember his dignity. He knew what was happening to him, and he knew where this was going to end up. And he never regretted 1 minute of his life, 1 minute of his career. He was just a really cool gentleman. And the saddest part is we have now lost the two greatest linebackers who ever wore the lightning bolt. And I thought about this morning. You can take our franchise, the San Diego Chargers, away from us. You can't take the memories and the love we have for 54, Billy Ray, and 55, Junior Seau. And sadly, they both died from the same thing, aftermath of concussions, head injuries, dementia. Obviously, they both handled it very differently. Seau's suicide was tragic. It'll forever make me ache that his whole inner circle, nobody recognized this. Nobody tried to get him help. Everybody in Billy Ray's inner circle knew what was going on, offered to help, he accepted help, and he didn't fight it. He died with dignity, and I think that's the classiest thing I can say about Billy Ray Smith. John, I got through it. Your turn.
Wow. I mean, yeah, he's not only an athlete that you cover, but a colleague that you work side by side with. You know, I have always known of Billy Ray, you know, as the football player, and he had a great career here, but I really knew him a lot more from his time with Scott. And it was they were like an odd couple, the two of them, you know, and Scott, you know, he's still going strong, but Scott's always got something to say. Billy Ray was sort of like the counterweight to Scott, you know, and Billy Ray was always so darn polite and kind of just like a well-mannered Midwestern. Yeah, I know he came up in Arkansas, but you could just feel like, you know, the morals and ethics of how he was brought up as a man in this world, and it really shined through. And the other thing that I always think is really special is every once in a while you'll see a picture like the one we have here on the bottom of Billy Ray with his family, with Kimberly or with his daughter. I think her name's Savannah, a volleyball player. When you look at him in a family photo, he is always sort of like in a very supportive place in the photo. And you see it right here. He's behind Kimberly. And this photo really highlights Kimberly, and he's like the supporting figure behind her. And that kind of a theme I started to see over and over in a lot of his personal photos. So, I mean, just a special man. It's a shame we have to lose athletes to CTE, especially as Charger fans. This has hit hard.
Yeah, very much so. And I don't know if this is a correct phrase. It was almost sound like he was egoless.
Yeah.
I mean, was he flamboyant? Yes. Was he boisterous? Yes. Did he laugh a lot? Yes. Was he fun to be around? Was he kind of the center of the party? Yes. But he was egoless. It wasn't about me, and he wasn't selfish. And the charitable stuff that he did in this community, spectacular. In fact, that's how we met Kimberly to begin with. She was doing charitable stuff on behalf of KGTV. And we always laugh about power couples in the community.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive power couple here in San Diego. No, it might not be Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, but that was a pretty good power couple too. But oh my goodness, what classy guy. And I'll tell you, I talked overnight and messaged back and forth and emailed today with former Charger executives and across the board. They just talked about who this person was, what he represented as a professional athlete. So, John, hole in my heart. And yet we knew this was coming. And it is so hard to have members of your family, because I've lived with it, who have dementia, because you know where the road is going. He knew where the road was going, and John, he handled it with such unbelievable dignity, and so did she. So I'll open it up. Fans Forum chat box is open. Memories of 54 and what he leaves behind. John, we go from that. We're right into the middle. NFL training camps have started. Everybody is in camp, and we're covering the teams here that everybody wants to talk about. Let's start first of all with the Rams, and then we'll talk about the Chargers. And there are questions, and there have to be some answers along the way. First of all, the Rams. Sean McVay has opened this camp, and he's told the media Aaron Donald is working out on his own time schedule. He has not told us whether or not he's ready to play, whether he's ready to come to camp. We'll tell you when he shows up. Everybody's of the opinion he's a-coming, but he's not there yet. First 3 days of camp, you can't throw a pass on those cornerbacks. You know, if you remember, they got Trent McDuffie from Kansas City. Then they got his running mate in Kansas City, Jalen Watson. Those guys have been spectacular. They've been spectacular because nobody can block Myles Garrett. Holy cow, is he creating havoc. He's overwhelmed the whole right side of the Rams offensive line. He is just a monster of a pass rusher. Now, in terms of the backup quarterback, because you've got to have an insurance policy that you can trust if you have to play that insurance policy. If anything were to ever happen to Matthew Stafford, Stetson Bennett is taking all the snaps with the number one unit as the backup. And Ty Simpson, first-round pick, is only taking snaps with the second unit. He's not doing anything with the Puka Nakuas and the Stars. So it looks as if they're settling on Stetson Bennett as being the insurance policy guy. But right now, hey, the arrow's pointed up. Everybody excited to see what Rams football is going to be like. In terms of the Chargers, they got a contract issue here. Young linebacker, the kid out of USC, third-year player. He's really coming a fast track. Tulia Pulotu didn't practice yesterday. Quote, hold in. Did practice today. Hey, Joe Ortiz has said, because we've critiqued him, everybody's critiqued him about all this free agent money he didn't spend on the outside. He says, I take care of my own guys. Take care of this guy. Now, the price tag is not going to be cheap, but Thule is there. The most unique thing for this Charger camp right now is the number one draft pick. I don't understand where they're lining up Akeem Mesidor. He's the number one pick. Right now, they got him as a backup outside linebacker behind Khalil Mack. I thought he was coming in to be somebody's pass rushing defensive end and use him that way rather than just as an outside linebacker. He's not gotten many snaps as a three down lineman in a pass rush. So I'm going to be intrigued to see that. Ortiz has been really vocal in camp, John, because I've critiqued him. Media has written about this. Did you really fix your offensive line in the offseason to protect your quarterback who was getting killed? And Ortiz's response was, guys, we drafted 4 offensive linemen. I signed 3 street free agent linemen. Give me some time to see what these guys are going to be like, and then you can make your judgment the first weekend of September. He kind of went back at the media saying, you can't make any judgments till we get these guys in helmets and pads and hit, and then we play these preseason games, etc. I will tell you, though, they're throwing a ball out of camp. Throwing it early, throwing it fast, and throwing it on time. I'm going to be intrigued to see what happens yards after catch, because I think that's going to be the catchphrase with the Chargers offense. What do they do after they get it out and they get it to Trey Harris and Quentin Johnston? And they got one of their draft picks who's caught everything they've thrown at him. His name is Brennan Thompson. He's a 5'9" scatback. The kid can fly. I think maybe the University of Houston. But he's had an impressive camp so far. And one of the street free agents they picked up, and I thought this guy played really well with the Baltimore Ravens. That's why Ortiz got him until he got hurt. But he's had 2 knee injuries. But when he was healthy, this running back, Keaton Mitchell, he catches everything. I saw a video this morning of a morning workout where he was in the backfield. He feigned a block, came out, ran a streak pattern down the sideline, and he blew by the secondary, and Justin Herbert planted one in the corner of the end zone to Keaton Mitchell. So at this point in time, his Charger team's got questions. Obviously, the interior of the offensive line to protect that quarterback who's been sacked 105 times in the last 2 years. But right now, it's going to be fascinating to see the linkage of Harbaugh and Mike McDaniel, the new offensive coordinator. So, John, you got Rams topics, you got Chargers topics, and you owe everybody here on this podcast an opinion. Go ahead.
Okay. I think right now the Chargers are the more maybe interesting team at this stage because we don't know what we're going to get. And we know the Rams are loaded and they're going to be fine. Now, one question I had is where do these two teams hold their camps? Do they typically hold them at their facilities? They don't do those off-site camps like they did back in the day, right?
No, exactly. I mean, the Chargers are at the Bolt, which is their new facility that opened just 2 years ago, and the Rams just moved into their new facility. They're no longer at Irvine. And of course, back in the day, the Chargers had, I thought, one of the best venues of all time when they practiced where the sea and the breeze meet at UCSD. Yeah. I thought it was one of the best training camps of all time. And then John Mitchell moved the doggone thing and moved it up to Cal State Dominguez Hills next to the oil refineries, which became one of the worst training camps that was ever at. But no, they and it's become commonplace. Most everybody practices now at their facilities. There are a few exceptions. The New York Football Giants opened their camp at Greenbrier in West Virginia, which is kind of it's a golf resort, but it's in the mountains. That's kind of different than most places. The Dallas Cowboys still have their camp out here at least for 2 weeks. They practice up in Oxnard, where that's better than practicing in Dallas-Fort Worth right now, where it's 100 plus every day of the week. But most everybody's at their own facility now. Okay,
that clears everything up. My brain is still like the 49ers in Rockland, California.
Yep.
The other question I have for you, Lee, and this is just kind of a fun question, but Matt, what's his name? Justin Herbert. He just got engaged. What's her name? Madison Beer. Have you ever covered a football team where the quarterback had like a superstar wife? And does that ever throw the player off?
A lot of people ask that question. Does this quote become a distraction? I guess only time will tell, though he's dated her for at least 2 years. And, they're Hollywood starlights trying to become a power couple. But to answer your base question, no, that all our quarterbacks, I think, were married and had kids trailing them with at camp. And Phillip Rivers was beyond reality. He had 10 kids and his wife. It was absolutely amazing. But no, I've never had a power couple quarterback that I ever covered or broadcast for.
Interesting. All right. Well, football's cooking.
Oh, we are. So if you're a Rams fan, you're a Raider fan, feel free. Get involved in the conversation. Let's peek quickly, John, inside the NFL notebook.
Raiders at the top of the list.
Okay, so there's all kinds of angles and storylines here with the Raiders. Raider fan will look at video because it's out there on social media. Look what our guys did in preseason. Okay. Yeah, that's one play, that's one pass, that's one film clip. Look what the Raiders have been for the last decade, 2 decades, etc. But at this point, these are the storylines. Kirk Cousins will be the starting quarterback opening day. Mendoza is taking all the snaps only with the second unit. But the burning question beyond Cousins versus Mendoza, and the realistic question, is a complex playbook that Kubiak has brought with him from Seattle. How quickly does the kid quarterback adjust to the complexities of everything Kubiak's got? Seattle playbook was really complicated. So far, so good. Second question with the Raiders. Do you have any wide receivers? They have 5 guys fighting for starting jobs at wide receiver. The most experienced is kind of least experienced. His name is Trey Tucker. Small, mighty might guy. They got to get answers. Can they have guys who can get open, who can catch the ball, not drop it, and stay healthy? Huge question there. Third question. Your offensive line is unproven. Outside of the arrival of the rich millionaire starting center Tyler Lindenbaum from Baltimore, and the fact you got Colton Miller back off injury at left tackle, do you have legitimacy at the other 3 offensive line positions? Because all it's been is a turnstile the last group of years. And then the fourth item, Max Crosby is practicing. This wear and tear factor, is that going to be an issue? Secondly, you spent a lot of money to get new players in here to play on the defensive side of the football. I guarantee you nobody in the world recognizes any of the names of the guys that right now are on that Raider defense outside of Mad Max. So the burning question, you got Max Crosby and 10 unknowns. How good is your defense going to be? So there's a ton of questions as it relates to Raider fans. Feel free to participate. San Francisco, this year like last year, damn injuries. They just can't get away from it. We're 2 days into camp, and they've lost 2 more wide receivers, and they've not solved the Brandon Ayuk controversy. Ricky Pearsall has now left camp to have examination. He's got swelling in the back of the knee where he had an injury to the PCL ligament last season that knocked him out. He did not get through his first workout without having to shut it down. And Christian Kirk, speed wide receiver, I always liked him. Arizona, Jacksonville, big yards down the field. He goes down with a knee injury too, or a calf injury. So San Francisco, all of a sudden, first 2 days of camp, guys are going down again. So that's got to be of concern. Cincinnati, they don't have enough players on defense, and now they lost one of their number 1 draft picks from a year ago, Shamar Stewart, pass rushing defensive end who struggled as a rookie, went down on his first workout, got leg whipped from behind, hyperextension. They're saying at least 4 to 6 weeks. At least he didn't tear the knee ligament, but why Cincinnati just can't get out from underneath the black cloud. Atlanta, we talked about this last week, John. Quarterback derby. Who's going to win the starting job for Kevin Stefanski? Will it be Tua or will it be Michael Penix coming off his 3rd knee surgery? Well, Penix is being withheld from 11-on-11 drills. Penix now has openly admitted it may be 4 weeks before I start taking 11-on-11 snaps. So he's not all the way back from the 3rd knee surgery. And Tua lasted 1 practice and had to come off the field with back tightness. And in Arizona, which they're trying to piece a roster together, the former Ohio State star Marvin Harrison, who was hurt last year 3 times, hurt again. Back injury, first weekend of workouts, Arizona Cardinal camp. He's out of action too. So, John, that's what I got in my NFL notebook, and we're going to continue to cover the National Football League in depth because that's who we are. But fans are invited to jump on board, talk about some of those topics. John, you got any response?
Why aren't you talking about Tony Romo? I mean, he got in trouble. I mean, what do you think about that situation? Do you think CBS needs to suspend him?
I don't think so. He'll probably plea bargain something, and maybe he needs some alcohol evaluation. Stupid. What are you driving drunk for? The video that has finally surfaced, because social media in every corner of the world. The video is sure embarrassing. He'll apologize. I don't think he's going to discipline. The fact that he got stopped, the fact he wasn't involved in an accident was hugely important. If this had gone deeper and he had crashed or somebody got hurt, then his problems would be growing exponentially. But not, why would you do that, Tony? You're smart. And you got a career here. Why would you do that? But he could hardly stand, and he failed a sobriety test. And it's a big issue.
It was just sort of a weird kind of TMZ moment in the world of football.
Yeah.
It's fun, keeping up with the camps here. I think if there's one thing that I have confidence in Fernando Mendoza in, is that he's going to learn the playbook. He's going to know the plays. Now, whether he can execute them, he can play at this higher level where everything's a lot faster, that's an open question. But he'll know the playbook, Lee, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so too. Now, can they can't pass block for him? He's not going to be playing behind Indiana's offensive line, but that's down the road because Kirk Cousins is going to be the starter. I think that now Mendoza is going to play in preseason games. I believe all 3 preseason games he's going to get snaps. But I think the bigger question to me, this offensive front's been horrid for years, and they don't have any name wide receivers. Who's going to be your wide receivers to complement the 2 good tight ends and obviously the quality running back? So I'm just going to be, there's a hell of a lot of questions swirling around the Raider camp, and it doesn't have very much to do, I don't think, with Cousins QB1 and Mendoza QB2. Okay, you got an opinion, feel free. Jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open. If we're talking football, also means we got to talk college football. Did you read my one man's opinion column? What I wrote today?
I did, and you were laying it on these guys, calling them slime balls.
Oh, college football. There's controversy in every corner of the world in college football at this hour. All right, let's first of all start at North Carolina with a hoodie and hot pants. I'm talking about Belichick and his girlfriend. The spotlight, though, at North Carolina right now, Belichick goes to the Atlantic Coast Conference Football Media Days yesterday and today, and he doesn't want to answer any questions about his general manager, Mike Lombardi, former NFL executive, who's been removed. He's making a mega amount of money. They've raised a lot of money. He spent a lot of money. They made a lot of mistakes with all that money. That was a pretty crap season they had last year at 4-9. So Belichick goes to the podium, and nobody wants to talk to him about his failed quarterback recruits or the fact he screwed up the whole transfer portal last year. And now they got 40 freshman football players. They want to talk to him about Lombardi. And Belichick's response, I'm on to football camp. I'm on to 2-a-day workouts. That's what I'm talking about. And university people are just going crazy because the media will not walk away from this Lombardi story because Lombardi offended so many people last year in his first year on the job as Belichick's right-hand man. So this story bears watching. Second one, Ole Miss. The aftermath of Lane Kiffin. Ole Miss has just filed a $1 million lawsuit against LSU for 2 of their top players who signed contracts to stay at Ole Miss after Kiffin left, and 10 days later left without giving the money back and have not made repayment, as was in the letterhead over the NIL agreements. And then, you got Kiffin accused of tampering with players. You got Kiffin dropping all these racial slur things about, can you recruit blacks to Mississippi? My God. You get around Lane Kiffin, you feel like you need to go wash your hands. And then, then we got the Michigan situation. So here's their new coach, Kyle Whittingham, taking over in Ann Arbor. And all the media wants to talk about is the mess with Sharon Moore. And Whittingham said this morning at the Big Ten Media Days, we're focusing on Michigan football. I don't care about the past. I don't care about the past people in the past at Michigan. He didn't want to talk about the fired AD, did not want to talk about Sharon Moore's sex scandal, didn't want to talk about Jim Harbaugh and what was left behind. And then there's Brian Kelly. He, of course, is the former LSU coach, took all the money and got run out of there after I call him a carpetbagger, just screwing up LSU football, messing with the culture, losing recruiting contacts, showing no demand to do the job the way it should be done, where the demands on the LSU coach are pretty significant. Brian Kelly will be on your TV doing a game in the Mid-American Conference of the Ohio Valley Conference. Good luck with the rest of your career. There is not one person or one media guy that I know has had a nice thing to say about Brian Kelly. And then there's Colorado, and then there's Neon Dion. Coach Prime. He spent the offseason just getting hammered by some of his current players and guys who left the program, getting criticized for running a Hollywood show there with no substance at all, John. His own quarterback indicating the coaches never helped him study film to get ready for the next opponent, that he had to do it all on his own. And other players have gone public and saying they're tired of all the coaches wearing bling on the sidelines and all of his NFL alumni guys just coming to Boulder to hang and to party with Coach Prime. And by the way, Coach Prime was not at practice yesterday nor today because Coach Prime's in Cleveland. He showed up unannounced, wanted a meeting with Todd Monken, the new coach of the Cleveland Browns, to talk about his son, Shedeur, and Shedur's battle to win the starting quarterback job. So, John, I just sat, when I wrote my column last night, I started thinking about, well, Belichick's a story worth talking about. The aftermath of the mess at Ole Miss with Kiffin, Sharon Moore, Brian Kelly, Coach Prime. And all of a sudden, I thought to myself, I think all these guys, and what's the word that comes to my mind? Slime balls. My God. Anyhow, that's where we are. Those are the stories in college football I thought it'd be interesting to talk about, and that's what I wrote in my column today. John, you got a response?
Yeah, I have two things for you. Number one, on Coach Prime. How's his health doing? Have you gotten an update on that?
He says he's cancer-free, but he's continued to have surgeries in the offseason, wide variety of things with blood clots, but he says he's cancer-free, so we take him at his word. But I'll tell you, the stuff swirling around Boulder, there's been a lot of erosion of fan support, a lot of criticism. I mean, a program has really faltered since Shedeur and Travis Hunter left. And the fallout from players that are still there and players who left about party atmosphere, bling, alumni association, that's all he did was hang with his fellas. That's not a good sign.
No, it's not. It's not. And Monken is probably thinking, oh my God, I got one of my players' daddies coming over, try to give me the business. Okay, I want to take you on a little bit of a tangent because, with the North Carolina, Ole Miss, Michigan, LSU, there is some slime ball factor here. So those cases are definitely worthy of commentary. But a lot of the slime in college football is related to money and the NIL deals and all that. Now, in the world of college basketball, what's your take on this whole Josh Pastner, UNLV wanted to sell the team or sell the program? I thought it was a pretty brilliant marketing tactic, but you had to reel it back a bit.
Well, he did because everybody's getting a lot of heat from it. And the byproduct is, oh, no, you're not telling me you're going to have somebody from Saudi Arabia come in and give us blood money and they're going to be a contributor to your program. I think that's the biggest faction. And we're going to have somebody with outside influence and how they can impact college programs. So Pastor is an interesting guy. I mean, he's standing on the street corner wearing sandwich boards, say, look at me, we're going to be a hell of a program, come be part of my team. I understand the sales pitch, but he's a little bit over the top sometimes too. You have to back it up on the Mountain West Conference and show me you can get to the Final Four before you say how great we are. But yeah, it's kind of intriguing that everybody's knocking at the door looking to raise more money and who can we get? But what is their sphere of influence, John, once they come in and become a partner with you? That to me is a big issue. And I don't think anybody has really delineated about what's right, what's not right, what scares the NCAA, what the conferences should or should not allow.
Well, I think when he said a new owner, it was clear to me he meant like a sponsor, just sort of like a sugar daddy for a year, and what a great place to do it in Vegas. I mean, just think of the possibilities, not only with casino money, maybe even some mob bosses out there. But seriously, the whole idea of putting it out there, hey, come over, be a partner with us. I think that'd be fine if it were purely, like a branding, a promotional opportunity for whoever that sugar daddy is. So I think it was brilliant kind of piece of marketing. I would have loved for them to cash in on it some way, but to your point, yeah, you got to draw a clear, like a Great Wall of China that separates promotion with manipulating with the program, or God forbid, manipulating with the academic side of the institution.
I concur with you. And of course, the Save the College Act is kind of stalled in Congress, like everything else is stalled in Congress right now. You're president. So the College Act at this point, I don't know if they're going to vote on it in the next week or so. And they've tried to really restructure the language in the Save the Protect College Athletics Act, but it's just very complicated because you still got the Big Ten with its own agenda. You got the SEC with its own agenda. So it's very, very complicated. Okay, you're a college football fan. All the names we just mentioned, does that feel slimeball to you? You need to go wash your hands too? Jeez. Okay, we'll go from that. Let's talk basketball, women's basketball, WNBA basketball. This story's not going away, John.
Yeah, it keeps evolving, this Caitlin Clark story.
Yeah, this is the war of words. And now it involves not just Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever star, the former Iowa legend. It involves the Players Association. It involves the Players Association against the commissioner, Cathy Engelbert. And Caitlin Clark at the All-Star festivities this past weekend indicated, I have no relationship with Cathy Engelbert. In fact, I have a better relationship with Adam Silver of the NBA than I have trying to communicate with Cathy Engelbert. The union is up in arms. They really believe that Engelbert is only concerned about profits, sales of franchises, valuation of franchises, amount of money owners can make. And she does not respect the product on the floor. And the union is of the opinion we, whether it's Reese, whether it's Caitlin Clark, whether it's any of the other stars, the Plums, the Loves, we're the ones that create the product on the floor. And the union is also upset that Engelbert has done such a terrible job in terms of the refereeing, the quality of the calls, etc., saying we need leadership. And this can't be just about the next TV contract, the next sales price of a franchise, the next expansion city. It's got to be product on the floor and taking care of the people that create the product on the floor. This thing is not going to go away. In fact, I would not be stunned, John, if one of these Mondays or one of these Thursdays, maybe it'll happen at the beginning of fall, beginning of the season, Engelbert will be gone as commissioner. Because I don't think she and Adam Silver, who really kind of cooperate to make the WNBA go, I don't think they're on the same page either. But boy, the union is standing tall with Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, you think the commissioner of the league, there's a great role model, and that's David Stern. And David Stern, developed a relationship with Michael Jordan, with Larry Bird, with Magic Johnson, knew how to promote stars in the league. And, it just seems like they're a little gun shy to make Caitlin Clark the face of the league because there's all this pushback and everything that's going on. But there's also this other crazy story in the W about Sophie Cunningham and kind of getting into it with some fans, that are basically saying, should only women be allowed in the WNBA, or it should be open to trans and everything else. So it's just crazy how politics have just infiltrated and kind of infected our sports world.
I don't know that we'll ever get to the actual debate about transgenders and should somebody be allowed to get in, because transgenders are not playing Division I women's basketball. So what is their jumping off point? But
they're playing volleyball.
Well, in a few cases, yes, but in terms of the NCAA and basketball, women's basketball, no, at this point. But that's not to say that might not be a topic down the road, because there are topics that keep surfacing every day that we've never, ever thought of. Okay, you're into basketball. Do you follow the WNBA now that the Caitlin Clark glamour thing has kind of gone away and it's just the business of basketball? Anybody that's a WNBA fan, this commissioner is caught in a lot of crossfire, taking off a lot of heat. Jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open. And if you thought we did not have enough topics on the table, we got the Sports Wire. Holy cow, John, we are not done. You ready for this?
Yeah, let's go.
World Cup soccer, rearview mirror. World Cup controversies right in front of us, and we're going down road with it. Gianni Infantino, the president of FIFA, has proposed a deal to sell the marketing of the World Cup and the Club World Cup tournament to a marketing company for $20 billion. That marketing company is funded with money from the, quote, Kushner family, a.k.a. the Trump family. Infantino has this business relationship that he has now grown with your president and his sons and sons-in-law. It's pretty nasty. It has now led to a fury in football and has led to an insurrection. UEFA, the European Federation, which encompasses every big country in Europe, held a Zoom call in the early morning hours today and voted that unless Infantino disassociates himself from this proposal and drops it, the 55 nations who have votes in UEFA, and that includes England, Germany, Spain, France, Italy, the 55 nations will boycott all World Cup events, qualifying tournaments, etc., beginning almost immediately. It's a power play. The thing that has just inflamed everybody is that Infantino would step down as president and would become the CEO of this new marketing firm. It's all a money grab for him. Just like everything that he did from a business perspective was a money grab with the World Cup that just concluded here. UEFA said this morning he cannot bribe us. Get this, John. He offered every federation, if they would approve it, a $40 million bonus if they would grant him the permission to take the marketing rights outside the circle of FIFA. $40 million. UEFA said today, you can't bribe us with that money. Now, some of these smaller countries, the African countries, a $40 million thing would fund their programs forever. But these countries are totally up in arms, saying it's not his right to sell our business to anybody. This is going to lead to a vote of no confidence for him. It could lead to him losing his job. And here's Infantino trying to pull a Trumpism by doing a sidebar deal, and then he becomes the CEO of the company that he would create with all the money. Just is absolutely stunning. Now, if that's not enough, FIFA this week just announced that they've begun an investigation into 4 incidents of assault at the end of the Spain-Argentina game that will have implications in terms of long-time discipline, suspensions against Argentine coaches and players. This followed Infantino putting out an essay on the FIFA website condemning the global media for spewing hate and damaging or trying to damage the beautiful game that was played here in the United States. It just goes on and on and on. But Infantino's picked a fight now that might lead to his death as president and get him exported out of FIFA. So that's soccer topic number 1. Topic 2, Mauricio Pochettino was supposed to let Team USA and the Soccer Federation know by last Friday, is he taking the 4-year contract offer? He did not respond. However, they are negotiating at this hour about specific terms of a 4-year extension. However, it's being reported by USA Today and by Reuters that Pochettino wants opt-out clauses in the contract. To which I say, wait a minute, time out. As great a job as he did, you're the focal point to build this program, grow it further national power. We can't give you a contract that would allow you a year from now to opt out if a unique job in the English Premier League opened and you want to go back abroad. We can't do that. You're either in for 4 to get to the next World Cup in 2030, or maybe you should leave now. And there's no jobs open. Virtually every job has been filled. So all of a sudden there's a different wrestling match that Pochettino wants some opt-out clauses in that contract. Third one, that's Roger Penske, legendary owner, Indy 500, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, IndyCar teams, runs the whole show. Yesterday, they just unveiled a brand new car for 2028. It's called IR28. Brand new chassis, streamlined longer, new drafting proposals, new front and rear wings, 760 horsepower, much faster, 100 pounds lighter. I mean, it's fascinating. And they're going to put this out on the track to test at Indianapolis. The only question I have, how fast is too fast it's going to lead to a death? I mean, I understand 228. That's like a neon lights. You want somebody going 250? And what if something breaks going 250? What happens to the driver? What happens to the car? What happens if it happens in a race? What happens if it's airborne and debris gets into the stands? How fast is too fast? I've seen the schematics of this thing, John, and I'm a race car fan. I'll tell you, this to me looks like a rocket ship. This to me looks like it's too fast for super speedway. Why are we doing this? Okay, John, those are hot headlines there. Go ahead. Talk about Infantino. Talk about Pochettino. Talk about all things green flag IndyCar.
Yeah, the Infantino thing, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, the way that Infantino kind of brought Trump the Peace Prize of FIFA, and obviously the dealing that was going on there. I mean, it was bad enough when, Trump, allegedly tried to get that red card overturned, but you just don't want to see politics. I don't care if it's Trump or, it's the Prime Minister of the UK. You just don't want to see politics and sport, collide like that or cross paths. But do you think we're getting to the point here where maybe the nations of the world might tell FIFA to screw off and we're going to get like another sanctioning organization to run our world tournament?
Well, it's a really good question. The problem they have, based on what I've been able to read and what some soccer people globally have emailed me back, everybody that's in the federation, there's 211 federations that make up FIFA, everybody has a vote. So the vote from Cape Verde, the smallest country, the vote from Iceland, smallest country, carries the same weight as the vote of Brazil or the legendary power England or Germany or Spain or France.
It's like the Electoral College.
I guess to a degree. And here's Infantino offering Cape Verde and all the other small federations a $40 million payment, aka bribe, to vote this in. Are the small guys going to override the people that have made the World Cup what the World Cup has been since 1930? So it's very complicated, but you can't, if you're going to break away, then how do you get unanimity? You'd have to have a new structure, new leadership. Where's that going to come from? They've got a structure of leadership here. They got rules and regs, except this guy, like your president, seems to think rules are for everybody else except him.
Yeah, he's the law and order guy. So it's just amazing that it's not kind of like the Electoral College. It's just like it, the way they're influencing it all with money and everything else. So it's bananas. And by the way, the Penske story, now granted, is fast too fast? I mean, we can have that argument, but I just love the whole idea of these guys working in the laboratory, cooking up these new ideas, these new architectures for cars to try to get the most they can out of it. To me, that is an amazing human achievement. I think that's worthy of celebration just on that level.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, this is different than the technology of your cell phone or my cell phone, right? Because we're talking about human life here. We're talking about unbelievable speed where things can break, crashes can occur. How fast is too fast? I mean, somebody going 250 miles an hour at Indianapolis, that's neon light fast. But that's also really, really dangerous. Do we need that to be part of the sport? Because you don't want to have fatalities everywhere in the sport.
How about Apollo 11 fast?
Yeah, it's just amazing. And what's your thought on Pochettino?
Yeah, I hope he's the guy that comes back. I mean, I'm surprised it's taking a little bit of time here. But I was very pleased with what he did with the program. It just felt like the Team USA was in really good hands. This is someone with the experience, played and coached internationally. So if he comes back for a second year, I think that's great. But apparently, I think Ziegler wrote a column about this, how World Cup coaches in U.S. history, when they come back for, like a second term, always have a big fall off. So hopefully that's not the case.
Would you give them opt-outs, though?
You can't really, because you got to keep them for the duration of this until the next World Cup. So, yeah, you think it would be a hardcore 4-year deal. That's what I would demand if I were Team USA.
That's where we are. This podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. 8 locations to serve you in San Diego. You got projects, they've got materials. You want ideas, they can be a consultant. You're thinking about doing something at home? Go to DIXIELINE.com and just see what they've got to offer. Fans Forum chat box is open. John, I'm ready. I bet there's some people here ready to make trades. I bet there's some people who are going to walk down memory lane to talk about BR, the loudmouth linebacker Billy Ray Smith. News and notes around the NFL. Go ahead. Bring these people on board.
Bring them on board. I mean, we got to start with some BR talk, and let's go to Retro JR. He goes, Chargers legend, popular sportscaster on KGTV and co-host on one of the best radio shows on 1090. Billy Ray Smith isn't just a Chargers legend. He's a San Diego sports legend. Thank you, great friend.
Yeah, just a nice man. As a longtime voice of the Chargers and the Seahawks, I spent 17 years doing NFL football. I dealt with every type of player there was. Good guys, bad guys, smart guys, dumbasses, guys who had agendas, etc. He was just one of the most complete, unique, good people. And I think the other factor, those of us in the inner circle, we knew where this was going. For him to handle what he knew his life was going to become, and I'm talking about the concussions, obviously the potential of dementia that became dementia, the deterioration at that point on, for him to handle it with the dignity, he was a man's man. He really was. Just when that story broke in early afternoon yesterday, just a hole in my heart, John.
Yeah, it was a tough one. I mean, we knew he was going through challenges. I just didn't know that death was anywhere near. And it's 64 years old. I mean, that's way too young. But I every once in a while, like if you listen to Scott Kaplan and his show, he'll hint about, Billy Ray, but he was always very careful to protect Billy Ray and Kimberly's privacy for their family. And I credit Scott for that. But it's just, why do we lose the good guys, Lee? I mean, Junior Seau, Billy Ray Smith. I mean, these are guys that need to be with us in San Diego into their old years.
It's interesting because I thought about this a long, long time ago. We all love I love doing Charger football. I love the games, the good teams, bad teams, whatever. But there's always a part of me that wondered on a Sunday night at 8:00. I used to come home from games and I'd take my kids out for ice cream sodas, John, because I didn't have a lot of time on weekends to spend with my kids, but I'd take them out for ice cream sodas. But I always wondered at 9:00 on a Sunday night, what are these guys who laid it all on the line, how are they feeling on Sunday night? Because guys get hurt, guys get injured. What do they feel like on Monday morning? And for the football fan, for the talk show host, we're on to the next thing. The next thing is we're going to open up the phones the next day and we're going to talk about the games. And I'll read the newspaper columns, what everybody wrote about this player, that game, this play, etc. And we lose all sight of the individual. And what was that like for that player who suffered this bad knee injury? What was it like last night going home? And painkillers and MRIs, and how do you deal with the trauma of an injury and surgery or career threatening? I mean, there's a human side to the game that virtually nobody pays attention to except for the guys that were in the game. And I thought about that a lot over the many, many years. And when I was doing the Charger games, what's that player experiencing at this hour as I'm sitting here eating ice cream with my kids? It's part of the game.
It reminds me of like stories about veterans as well. I mean, the things they go through in their private life. But I remember like in the NFL, it's true still. Monday's always an off day, right?
Yes.
I mean, just to let them rest. But yeah, rest in peace, Billy Ray. I mean, a legend here in San Diego.
Tremendous person. Okay, we move on.
Okay, let's go to Carlos. Hey, Eric Lauer of the Dodgers is 5-0 with a 2.96 ERA. LA is 9-0 when he pitches. Yesterday, another 6 great innings and only allowed 1 hit. The LA Dodgers might trade him to acquire even more assets. Thoughts?
Isn't it interesting that Lauer is sitting there at 5-0, and Wroblewski, is he 10-2 or 11-2 or 11-3 right now? Who could have thought on opening day those guys would have between them 16 wins? Just it's fascinating. Wroblewski had obviously come through the farm system. Lauer's bounced all over the roadmap, been released by a bunch of people. Original Padre, but has been traded multiple times, been on waivers, etc. They kind of picked him up at a last gasp. And boy, he's pitched consistently. He's not going 9, I'll guarantee you that. He'll go 5 innings, 6 innings, max effort. But John, just think of the mileage the Dodgers have gotten out of those 2 left-handers.
This is so Dodgers. Dodgers. They just fall into the lap of luxury. But I remember when Eric Lauer pitched for the Padres, he showed a lot of promise, and he was very effective at shutting down the Dodgers. He'd have some shaky outings against the Rockies, but it was never a problem with the Dodgers. He's a good guy, good pitcher. It's nice to see him still playing.
Yep. Well, tell you what, trading deadline's Monday. I don't know if the Dodgers are going to be in the scuba race or not. Go ahead. You got more people here with opinions.
Yeah, I'm going to weave in a lot of Billy Ray comments. This is from Callan. Afternoon, gents. Saw no sports take today. My heart hurts for Billy Ray Smith, his families, and his colleagues like yourself, Scott, Coach, Darren, etc. What a guy. What a life lived. Prayers up.
Yeah, well said. It's weird because you deal with people who come from all backgrounds in the NFL, great players, self-made players, guys who came from money, guys who came from bad situations who became something, guys who became something that got out of hand, guys who became stars, gave back to the community. I mean, Billy Ray was just so unique in terms of intellect, and I'm not just talking about skill and athleticism and speed. I'm talking about just his ability as a person. I mean, what he did, not a jock, what he did in the media in terms of being polished and on the air, just absolutely phenomenal. And he was a hell of a football player, John. He was not your typical inside linebacker, big and tough. He was smart and skilled. And somebody asked me last night, another media guy called me, and we were just kind of flashing memories and said, what's your memory of Billy? And I said, he psyched out John Elway. He just seemed to be a step ahead of everything Elway wanted to do. And there was a game, and Billy Ray only played a couple of years after I got here as the voice of the Chargers, and we weren't very good. But there was a game where Elway had led the Broncos to a bunch of touchdowns, and that was the era of the 3 amigos. He had the 3 wide receivers, and they were throwing it everywhere. But Billy Ray would psych out Elway. He'd show blitz and drop out. He'd line up outside one time, next time he'd line up inside. And had Elway tried to throw a pass out of the end zone, and he'd been passes to everybody all day. And he threw one over the middle, and Billy Ray out of nowhere comes streaking across, one-hands it, leaps in the air, one-hands it, walks into the end zone. And Elway is standing in the end zone. 54 was good. He was just so good. There's some highlight videos of him right now that I've seen. I think they came from NFL Films. I mean, he was a really gifted, fast linebacker.
Right on. I mean, his dad played in the NFL too for the Colts, right?
Yeah, big defensive end. Rams, Steelers, but I think Billy Ray Sr. made his heyday, and he was a big pass rusher with Baltimore.
Now, here's an interesting angle. You correct me if I don't have my facts straight on this, but I remember watching the ESPN 30 on 30 about the 1983 NFL draft, and that was the year of the quarterback, right? But isn't that the same year that Billy Ray Smith came out when the Chargers had 3 first-rounders?
Yeah, he was a 5th pick in the first round. And again, they had made a commitment to Fouts that they were going to try to draft and fix the defense, because the defense had been the weak link during the whole Eric Coryell era. And they went out, and I don't know if they were all in the same draft, but they were close. But they had consecutive first-round picks where Billy Ray, Gilbert, the big defensive end Lee Williams, and Leslie O'Neal. I mean, they had a lot of components there, but most of those guys wound up getting hurt, and Leslie O'Neal became a great defensive end, played here, then went to Kansas City. Most of the other guys, they spent a ton of draft picks on guys in the secondary, and virtually all of them got hurt. Gilbert played very well, but he broke down too. So they had made a run consecutive years in a row, just drafting defense.
Yeah, interesting. It's great stories. I mean, you got so many stories about following these players back in the day too. Okay, let's little Angels baseball with Teamer. I think the Angels got fleeced by the Rangers, but what do you expect when the Angels have the stupidest owner in baseball?
Well, they're letting John Mozeliak do what John wants. I think John won't say it, but we're in last place with these guys. We're going to stay with all these guys, and we're in last place with these guys? No. The kid they got is a power-hitting second baseman shortstop. Now, granted, he's only Class A, and he's really young. But Ohtani had stopped hitting. He was in and out of the lineup. He got hurt a bunch. I happen to like him, but he's hitting 209. Just one the same player. And when he first got here, he went, boom, that's a pretty good guy. Little surprised they gave up on SETH, but again, you got to give to get. So that becomes an issue. And they're not done. Now, if they wind up with 7 or 8 good young prospects by the time they get done at the trade deadline, if they move Soriano, if they move Detmers, if they move Joe Adell, then you'll say, okay, this is the track they're taking. And again, Mozeliak's philosophy is we're in last place with these guys. We can't keep doing the same thing. That's where we are.
Yeah, I was surprised to see Ohtani's name in that deal because everyone thought so highly of him. But I'm willing to give Mozeliak, is that how you say it, Mozeliak? I'm willing to give him a lot of slack, a long leash, because the Angels need to do something, in my opinion, that's kind of radical. And so now identify the guys and ship them out.
Well, I think the shortstop is probably the next one, because Boston and Tampa, who both got a lot of guys in their farm system, are both going after Zach Neto. So that's the next one. I don't know if they trade Soriano. Maybe I wouldn't trade Soriano. Maybe I think I probably would move Detmers. You won't get as much for Detmers. But if you take all those guys and you get enough young prospects, that starts you on the rebuild process. And then you're going to have free agent money. And if Artie Moreno lets Mozeliak spend what he wants to spend financially, then maybe you can lure some other people to plug in around all these kids you're going to try to build with. Long road back there, John. This is not going to happen by the first breakfast in December. You're not going to have a pennant team by then.
Retribution for Artie, maybe on the plate. Okay, let's go here to Bat Fan talking Padres. This is the worst case scenario as a Padres fan. The team is winning, and it's giving us hope. I still say they shouldn't trade anyone.
Well, you're not going to be able to go get any type of quality starting pitching unless you're willing to give up something. Now, at the end of the day, I don't want to trade Mason Miller. I'm not sure I'd trade Morion unless it's for the right guy, and the right guy's got to be somebody who's going to be here for a 3 years as a cornerstone to the rotation, and it might be the Hancock kid. And again, you'll get the free agency. You can always go in and go find more pitching to put in front of Mason Miller in the bullpen if you trade Morion. But this, what they have right now, this can't go on. We got 55 games to go. We can't have 2 starters and 11 relievers and think we can have 3 bullpen days a week. That's not common sense. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, we're still, hoping Pivetta and Musgrove might come back late August, maybe early September. I just don't know how they can keep. It's like a MacGyver episode. It's like duct tape and baling wire. And maybe they'll get through this 4-game series with the Giants. But yeah, like to your point, they're going to play Milwaukee and LA and even Arizona, coming up next week. So they got a tough road to go. They need arms badly. The hitting's come back though.
Yeah, no, well, the hitting's come back because of who they played. I mean, let me see if their hitting comes back in the series against first place Milwaukee, and then we'll see. Okay, we move on.
All right, here's a shout out from the Albuquerque Turkey. I remember back in 1993 speaking to you on Extra 690 AM radio. Poway, sound off.
That's right. What are you doing in Albuquerque? Jeez.
The Albuquerque turkey. You think it's hot out there, Lee?
Oh, it's
Yeah.
John. Everywhere except my cottage. I keep punching up my cell phone and looking at the pictures I took 2 weeks ago when I was on a holiday at my cottage up on the St. Lawrence Seaway. Oh, I wish I could be there.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a nice place to be. All right, let's go here to Gary. Hey, I'll see you again in that big Qualcomm parking lot in the sky at A2, Billy Ray. A man's man, a good man. Rest in peace, number 54.
Well said. Well said. And, I got choked up talking to some guys last night on the phone about it because my phone would not stop ringing. And, I think about what happened to Junior Seau and how tragically bad that the end of his life was, and obviously how moving, how spiritual, how unique the end of Billy Ray's life was. And I thought, geez, they're both great players, both tremendous assets to the heritage of San Diego Charger football, but one ended so sadly, and the other ended with such unbelievable dignity. Isn't it really weird?
Yeah. Life is weird. Life throws you a curveball. Like it's kind of interesting because to your point, Lee, Billy Ray knew what his condition was. He sort of kind of had a vision of how his life was going to go and had that for, 5 or 10 years. But a lot of us, it might happen tomorrow, you just never know. So it's interesting to see the human side of these athletes that we talk about and we laugh with and enjoy watching play the game. But it's moving when you learn more about what they're going through personally.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Okay, carry on.
Richard says, hey, I hope the Dodgers do get Scooble. The social media meltdown, especially how Ben and Woods would lose their minds, would be appointment radio. LA should go all in for the three-peat.
Well, the most unique aspect of this trade deadline is what might happen December 1. What might next year look like, John? Because if anybody takes on contracts with the idea then we're going to sign this guy to an extension, we don't know whether there will be a salary cap. We don't know whether there'll be a different floor to spending, whether the luxury tax parameters will change. And, for the Dodgers, where money's no object, but at the end of the day, it is still money going out the door. What if the Dodgers take on Scooble with the ideology, he's going to pitch us the World Series and we're going to re-sign him because he's a great pitcher. And here the payroll just gets bigger and bigger. How they can make all this work? And again, how is MLB going to make this whole thing work? I mean, I wasn't very good at new math, and I know you're a smart guy and all that stuff. But it'd be fascinating to see how they grandfather all this in, deferred payments, luxury tax, average salary, et cetera. I don't know what the formula is because the union and Rob Manfred are so diametrically opposed right now.
Yeah, did you see this news story about the Dodgers owner? Is it Mark Warner? I think his name is
Mark Walter.
Walter, excuse me. He's getting under a little bit of investigation. Is this something we should take seriously?
I don't know. I mean, I have a hard time believing that Guggenheim would do anything illegal. This has to do with $16 million in loans from insurance companies that he owns. I tend to think this might be more of a bookkeeping thing than it is anything. I just have a hard time believing that Guggenheim, which is rich beyond rich, would do anything illegal. So I read a sidebar column, might have been in the Wall Street Journal in the last couple of days, that these investigations on big money transactions, they happen all the time in the world of business and the world of industry. So I would think not. I don't think there's anything wrong here. Maybe it is bad bookkeeping.
The Dodgers, Shohei Ohtani, man, they're both Teflon. Nothing sticks, right? Okay, let's go here to our friend John. Rest in peace, Billy Ray, and prayers to former Gull, Ron Duguay. I loved watching them both.
Yeah, Ronnie Duguay is a former New York Ranger. He is in very critical condition. He's got stage 4 cancer. He's fought a hell of a battle, but obviously we're right at the doorstep there. So it's hard. how do I don't know if John, if I've ever mentioned this. I talk to my kids all the time about life, and we're going through changes in our family and people passing in my family, etc. And I've tried to explain to my kids that dying is part of living, and you have to accept that and understand that. But when somebody goes suddenly, that's one thing. Somebody who's long-term very ill, that's very different. But boy, it's a different time right now. It really is.
Yeah, and the older you get, the more you think about your own mortality.
Exactly.
And I think when you're young, you just think death is so far off the radar. But the older you get, I know speaking for myself, I'm kind of curious what's going to happen on the other side. I'm open to it, when that day comes. But sometimes that day could be tomorrow. So every day is precious.
Well, it really is. For a lot of people on this podcast that aren't aware, I was involved in a really bad auto accident on Easter weekend. At 4:30 in the morning on the way to the TV station, I drove into somebody else's collision, and I got trapped in my car. And it's the first time in a long time I got scared because I thought I was going to get rear-ended by a tractor trailer on the Interstate 15, and it took me forever to get out of that car, and I got blown up by the airbags, etc. And that, John, was the first time in a long time in my life where all of a sudden my mortality, it was right there in front of me, and I could not get out of that car, and these trucks were blowing by me, and there was wreckage out in front of me. And yeah, all of a sudden you think, this could have happened to me just like that.
Yeah. I've had, well, not exactly what you've had, but there are moments like that where you're like, if one thing happened differently, game over. Wow. Don't want to lose you on the freeway, Lee. All right. Let's go to Alfonso. Hey, trade Sheehan. Keep Lauer. Let's go Dodgers.
Well, I don't know that they want to shop Sheehan, but Sheehan has some good starts, some shaky starts. He just doesn't put things together consistently. There's nothing wrong with Emmett Sheehan being at the back end of your rotation, but where the Dodgers are right now, there's a little bit of a mystery. They're getting close to activating Snell, but what are they going to get from Snell? We don't know about Glasnow. Can Glasnow hold up if he gets there? That becomes an issue. Can we really trust Roki Sasaki in postseason? We have to send him out there. What kind of innings, what kind of starts is he going to give us? Is the ball going to get away from him again? He's going to walk the house. And now we got the Ohtani issue. So, John, that's four guys, all superstars with the Dodgers, that you got issues with going towards postseason. So, and then you got Emmett Sheehan. If you're telling me that Lauer and Robleski are going to be the cornerstones of my postseason pitching staff, I don't know about that. Maybe that's why they got to make the Scooble deal.
Well, at this point in time, Lee, would you rather be Dave Roberts or Craig Stammen?
No,
it's pretty obvious.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. And they got the resources at Dodger Stadium to do it because Dodger dollars are not a problem.
Not a problem. Dodgers. Okay, hey, SD Boltman, rip Billy Ray.
Rest in peace. Yeah. There's so much video out there of Billy Ray making big plays. It's really cool. The hard part, he played so well for so long. I mean, his career spanned 10 years, John. The last 2 years, it was just bereft with injuries. He had leg problems, calf problems, Achilles problems. But boy, the 8 years prior to that, he was a special player, and he was on bad teams because it was the tail end of the Fouts era, and then obviously it was everything post Fouts without legitimacy at quarterback and changing ownership and changing front office people. But boy, he was beloved in that locker room, and to have former Charger executives contact me last night, because I sent the word out in the afternoon to a whole bunch of people on my email list, including former Charger people who don't live here anymore. I said, I'm just alerting you, this is the story, it's going to happen. To have these Charger people get back to me and say, oh my goodness, I can't believe that. And a lot of people did not know because, we kept that private. It was a personal thing about his deterioration. And I knew, Scotty Kaplan knew, John Quintero knew. We all knew who, because we were close at the whole team at Broadcast Circle. But he wouldn't talk about it only because that's a family decision as to who they're going to tell, when they're going to tell. etc. But boy, the former Charger executives, I mean, we're talking about former GMs, we're talking about scouts, talking about some coaches. They just universally praised this guy for who he was, his dedication, and how gifted he was. So that's what a cool way to go out with that kind of regard and respect.
Yeah, I think a previous fans forum comment from Gary was he was a man's man, and you always kind of got that. He was a dude, and he was a guy that, like you said, was egoless. Yeah, there was no pretentiousness about him. He never tried too hard. He was just Billy Ray, the old rascal, and you just kind of love him for who he is and what he's all about. So, good for Kimberly, to have him as a partner, as a husband, as a father of her child. I mean, because that's a guy that's a rock solid dude, that a family can be built on. So I hope Kimberly and Savannah and everybody else are doing all right.
Yeah, very well said. I think in summary, he was a complete person. That's a really cool thing. He was classy. He was really a complete person. So we'll think often about him, and we'll talk more, and we'll find out what kind of civic ceremony they have. I hope they would have some type of civic ceremony here in San Diego for him. Like I said, we don't have the San Diego Chargers anymore, but we can remember good people, good times, and obviously some really good football players, and 54 was. And before I close, before we wrap this thing up, because this has been a pretty good podcast, kind of emotional podcast, all I can say is I'm going to walk down the hallway and I'm going to yell, loudmouth linebacker and the wide right field goal kicker are in the building. Congratulations to the late Billy Ray Smith and to his running mate, Scotty Kaplan. John, this has been fun. This has been cool. It's had great meaning, great response from the people, and that's so much part of what we do, to give fans an opportunity to express opinions. I hope the fans have enjoyed this. Our podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Homesteaders, 8 locations to serve you in San Diego. Build it or fix it. You will enjoy it in 2026, courtesy of DIXIELINE. Go to DIXIELINE.com, see all the things they have to offer. Just a couple of reminders. Check my website. I write a lot of sports on it. I want you to read my best 15 minutes in sports every day, my one man's opinion column. Fill out the box on the lower right, the orange box. Become part of Hacksaw's Insiders Group so you can get my emails, John's emails. Every day we send out 2 newsletters every day to our fans. And help us grow this thing. Thumbs up, hit the follow button, give us a 5-star rating on Apple. John, good job. Thank you for being with us and kind of walking down memory lane with, as you would say, the old rascal.
The old rascal. Yeah, hey, rip to Billy Ray. And I'm going to be at the Padres game tonight. Padres Giants. I'll be thinking of Billy Ray while I'm there, but I'm going to be rooting for the Padres. Let's go for 6 in a row. I hope I told you so. I get to hear that on Sunday night.
Hey, if we could have a 9-game winning streak going to the trade deadline on Monday, I told you so. John, have a great sports weekend. Enjoy the game. We'll catch you on Monday at 1:30.
All good.
And thank you for joining us on Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast apps. For more content, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com.